2485 right now on the index. Dilip Bhatt is also with us. Dilip, hi, good afternoon. First, a word on HDFC and the way that stock has led the market higher today after yesterday's big decline. Are you positive on the stock at current valuation?
Well, I think some of the things suggest that possibly HDFC will grow at a much slower pace. And I think the yesterday's advanced tax figures was, of course, a big trigger for the markets. And I think that probably has been extrapolated into interpreting that probably the profit growth will be much slower. And I think apart from that, I think there are always the worries on the housing loans and the corporate, not housing loans, the corporate loans which the company has given, which also, time and again we frequently hear about the how sustainable they are in terms of its recovery. Of course, there is nothing which suggests otherwise, but I think these fears have really weighed a lot on this particular stock. Having said that, I think I would not be in a hurry to buy HDFC at the moment. I would still wait for the results to come out, but certainly on a decline, it would certainly be a good stock to acquire in your portfolio for a long term.
Well, Dilip, good afternoon. Thanks for joining. Well, I wanted your take on the two auto stocks. Two different kinds altogether. Tata Motors and Bajaj Auto. Bajaj Auto has been, to just take the alliteration, bajawed in the last few weeks, partly because of the Egyptian problem, their exports not doing well, a whole host of things. And then there's Tata Motors, which has completely been yanked up. Where do you stand on both these?
I think as far as Tata Motors is concerned, I think the fears are far too overwhelming. Rather than fears, I would say the apprehensions are far too overwhelming for the stock, and which is what has really brought the stocks down to this level. Of course, from the lower level, it has recovered without any doubt. But I think if one were to see that there is a good secular recovery in the commercial vehicles, which of course does not contribute much to the overall Tata Motors profitability. But apart from that, I think the sales of Jaguar also is something which is really something which is inspiring confidence, whether it is USA. China continues to be a worry. But summing it up, I still think that Tata Motors probably is factoring in a lot of negatives, and I think the positives will be something which will surprise a lot of people. So I think it's a good stock to buy, at least in the medium to long term. And as far as Bajaj Auto is concerned, I think, of course, there are too many negative news which has come out in the last 1 month or so. And even with Delhi also adding to its problems. So, having said that, one thing is sure that as far as motorcycles is concerned, they are not really gaining market share in that as much as what one would have really thought about. And the main contribution is still coming from the three-wheelers. So I think Bajaj Auto also I would look to buy, but I would look to buy maybe slightly at the lower levels, not immediately.
Okay, bye.
Dilip, where do you stand on the private sector banks? I mean, we saw a lot of shunning of ICICI and Axis up until recently, but now both have caught up. What are your favorites now?
Surely, I think Lata has said it that especially in the private sector banks, Axis and ICICI Bank was the main target. And I think we had seen a huge amount of selling from a lot of FIIs, but probably that has changed over the last 1 week or so. And I think we have now started seeing that fresh buying that is taking place in some of these private sector banks. So my own sense is that most of the worries as far as the NPAs, which is what has really caused a major downfall for Axis as well as ICICI Bank, has been played out. Now probably there could be still 1 or 2 more quarters which probably can produce some surprises on the negative side. So both the stocks certainly merits a look, and certainly as a buy on a long-term basis in your portfolio.
Okay, a word on Asian Paints. That stock has been remarkably strong. Of course, today it's a bit weak, but still a stock which is closer to its highs than its lows.
I think that's a stock which, everybody only looks as a stock when you should really acquire. So whenever it comes down, I think there are enough people who really want to buy because there is enough resilience in this particular company given the past track record. And even when they're expecting that the economy is going to recover and consumer discretionary spending is going to increase, I think these are some of the stocks where probably you will find much more comfort, especially given the fact that the raw material has been in a very favorable side as far as these companies are concerned. So I think my own sense is that this stock will always remain expensive. We find it a bit expensive. I think we are not so gung-ho on its the kind of growth that we are going to see. But yet it's very difficult to do away with this particular stock from your portfolio.
Okay.
But, Dilip, sugar stocks have seen phenomenal rally. We've seen multi-baggers in names like Dwarikesh, a couple of others like Dalmia Bharat, even Balrampur Chini has rallied. Is this a sector that you have any positive stock call on, or will you avoid this particular space?
Well, I think this is a sector which we are really not tracking. And my own sense is that in the commodity, it's very difficult to take those long-term bets. You have to move along with the prices, and you have to be smarter than that. But I think as far as sugar is concerned, as what I understand from a lot of technical analysts, that this has really broken out after a very long time, maybe after 5-7 years. But certainly I think some of the tailwinds which are going in its favor certainly is that the sugar prices are up by almost about 8 to 10 rupees per kg over last 8 to 9 months is what we understand. But if one were to see the sector as such, there are a lot of companies with a lot of heavy debts, and it's very difficult to imagine that these kind of sugar prices will be sustainably, they'll keep on increasing in the long run. And especially in the Indian context, I think it's a very sensitive topic given the nature of the politics that is going on. So I would be really apprehensive about this sector, not because I know much about it, but only because of the fact that it's a commodity and it's more political in nature.
So what are your bettable mid-caps then, Dilip Bhatt?
Well, I think in the mid-cap space, we like something like a Hexaware. I think that's a stock which probably will show a very good volume growth, and it will show a reasonably very good bottom line growth too. I think there are stocks like Jamna Auto, that also looks pretty interesting. We like SpiceJet. I think that's amongst our top picks, which we feel that that's a stock which can really, over next 12 to 18 months, can show good appreciation, notwithstanding the short-term controversy. Something like Sutlej Textiles also. So a few of them are something which we really like a lot. And Jubilant Life Science is another stock which we feel has a good potential over long term.
All right, Dilip, we'll thank you on that note, and we'll now